Here on France 24, look through what's making the headlines here in France, which I'm joined by Florence VILLEMINOT.
Hi,
Flo. As you'd expect, really, dominated by this beating to death by skinheads of a student in central Paris.
That's right. It's the big story in France today. Let's take a look at L'Humanité, which is the communist newspaper, which calls it a fascist crime. So Wednesday, Clément Méric was involved in this fight with a rival skinhead gang here in the center of Paris. According to witnesses, he hit his head on a pole after being punched in the face. So police say it's unclear whether his death was deliberate or an accident. But a lot of papers are wondering, what is this? Is this a fight that went wrong, or is this a rise in extremist violence that we should be concerned about?
Humanity's take is that this isn't just a random act of violence.
That's right. In their editorial today, they say that there's been this nauseating environment in France really over the last couple of weeks and indeed over the last couple of years. And the far right and Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far right party, have become more and more normal in the collective mind and therefore have had a boost in their confidence. And this is what we're seeing today. Libération, meanwhile, says that the atmosphere really has been tense and going in a downward spiral in the last couple of months. And they say that the root of this is really the anti-gay marriage demonstrations that we saw. And they say that in the wake of these demonstrations, you could hear calls to resist, promises that blood would be spilt. So they say that all this created really a negative and violent background noise that led to this kind of unchecked resurgence of these extremist groups.
But the Catholic paper La Croix has a different take on things.
That's right. In their editorial, they say, let's not get carried away because we don't really know much about what caused Clément's death. All we know is that it was a terrible tragedy, but it's very critical of actually people who jump to conclusions and blame these anti-gay marriage demonstrations for poisoning the atmosphere. It's critical of people who say this and critical of people who are trying to get political gains out of this. It says that this is really the kind of behavior that will stoke the fire.
And various papers are taking a look at various groups of the hard left and hard right.
That's right. Libération looks at the group that Clément was part of. It's called the Action Antifasciste Paris Banlieue, so about 100 members. Now, it was created to make sure that the extreme right doesn't own the street. And this is an article that you can see in Slate today that's looking at the other side of things, the far right, the extreme right, and skinhead groups. Now, Slate says it's hard to determine just how many people are part of these groups because they're not very official statistics, but says they're about probably 400 people, so a minority, but they're very vocal and they get a lot of media attention, according to Slate.
And going back to the attack, it took place in broad daylight, right in the centre of Paris, in a very busy shopping district, after a private sale of Fred Perry gear.
That's right, and a lot of people are wondering why Fred Perry. So the Huffington Post actually takes a closer look, and you can see there the famous logo for that brand. So why were they there? Why were they at that private sale? Well, the Huffington Post points out that this brand, which started out as a brand that was targeting tennis players in the 1950s, has become very, very popular among, both far-right groups and far-left groups.
It's been part of sort of various trends over the years.
Absolutely. It's kind of the thing to wear if you're part of those groups. Now, Fred Perry isn't so thrilled about this and has tried to change its image somewhat, teaming up with all sorts of musicians, such as Amy Winehouse, for instance, but it doesn't seem like it's able to kick this bad reputation, I guess it has, for some people. We can read an article in Libération that also points out that this strategy hasn't really worked. And once again, if you're from the far left or the far right, this is really the kind of clothes that you'll be buying.
Florence VILLEMINOT, thanks ever so much for that roundup of the French press. If you do want to keep up with the news throughout the day here on France 24, don't forget you can always check out our website, www.france24.com. Versions for you there in English, French and Arabic. Top story at the moment is that skinhead beating in the centre of Paris, which has shocked France. You're watching live from Paris, coming up very shortly. Another half hour of news and focus. And we profile the Israelis struggling to make ends meet as the OECD says the country has the highest poverty rate of all its members. In sports, Serena Williams on course for a second French Open title. She powers through the semis and now faces defending champion Maria Sharapova in the final.